Welcome to the I Get Better podcast with your hosts, Charlene Renee and Phaedra Smith, where we discuss topics related to life, love, mental, physical, and spiritual health, and how we can all get better together. Hey guys, welcome back. This is Phaedra Smith.
And I'm Charlene Renee.
Today's topic of the day is I get better when I get real.
When I get real. So we're going to get real with ourselves today.
I'm scared.
Don't be scared. Don't be scared. So we're going to be talking about we are going to get better when we get real. And what we mean by getting real is basically getting more aware with ourselves, raising our self-awareness, and also raising our awareness of things going on around us. So we're going to jump right in and get started today with defining what it means to be aware and giving, some examples of when it's important to be aware, what are some barriers to becoming aware, and what are some practical ways that we can begin to become more aware. So let's jump right in on our definition of the word aware. So, of course, we always hit you with the Webster's Dictionary version of our word of the day. So I'll start off with that, and then we kind of like to put our own little spin on the definition. So according to the dictionary, awareness is knowledge or perception of a situation or fact, or concern about and well-informed interest in a particular situation or development. So it's knowing something or perceiving a situation or fact. And that's important. We really need to increase our knowledge and our perception of things in order to get better. So do you have, Phaedra, your own personal spin on the word awareness and what it means to you?
Yeah, so I just think becoming more self-aware is all about holding your own self accountable. So being responsible for your own actions, you can no longer, when you're looking in that mirror, you can't blame other people for the things that you may or may not have done. So that's sort of my take on becoming more self-aware and what awareness means for me.
For me, I see awareness as just kind of like a opening of your eyes and being able to no longer remain in a state of ignorance. So when I think about awareness, it's just gaining of knowledge or information that it was always there, but you were kind of blind to it. And then once you're made aware, your eyes are open and you're getting a bigger view or bigger picture of what's going on. So that's my personal little definition of awareness. So I want to kind of jump into kind of some examples of this. So what I think about when I think about awareness, in a way, it kind of reminds me of, those things that you see on social media where people will ask a question like, well, how old were you when you found out that this was for this? Or that this person, and it's things that you paid, like you saw it and you paid attention to it, but not in that deep of a manner where you figured out that this actually had a different use other than what you thought it was intended for. And so it's like just making you more aware, and now you're no longer ignorant of that fact. I think I saw something like related to like the Chick-fil-A nugget container one time, where it was like, do you know that this hole in the nugget container is for your straw and you could sit the nuggets on top of your drink? It was crazy.
What?
Yeah, it was like it had the nugget sitting on the drink and it had the sauce there, and your straw could go in the back of the nugget so it could sit on top. It was like, really?
Wait a minute, Chick-fil-A.
My Chick-fil-A nugget container for that. But again, it was just like, wow, that was there all along. Like, I probably won't use it for that, but it's like, well, now I'm aware of that. And then another kind of example is like when you become aware of what's going on with yourself. Like, for example, you might have something on your face or on your clothes, and you could be walking around, you might have a little crust in your eyes or something like that. And you're talking to people and you're doing everything. And then until you get in the mirror to see that, oh my goodness, I have like this big, eye critter in the corner of my eye, or something in my nose, or something in my teeth from lunch. And I've just been out here, embarrassing myself all day until I got in the mirror. Now I'm aware, and now I can correct that thing. So it's just like those examples, but I want us to dive a little deeper than those surface level things and kind of speak to the importance of getting aware about issues, whether they're internal or external issues that we're dealing with, and kind of get into some practical ways that we can get better at becoming more aware.
Right. So I wanted to just chime in and say, I think it's so important because growth is becoming aware is a part of growing, and it's a necessary change for life. So if we're not growing, then we're dying.
Or we're going backwards, or we're going
stuck. Right. And I mean, I have had moments in my life where I have felt stuck, and that is one of the most miserable feelings, to feel stuck in a relationship, and a whether it be a friendship or a romantic relationship or a career or a job that you just feel like you're not growing in. So, and becoming more self-aware is a mandatory step in authentic personal development. And so I know for me, like, you can develop, but to authentically develop is what I want for my life, is to really have that real change. Not just like I go to church and I feel the spirit and I fall out and then I go home and I'm doing the same stuff. No, when I want change, I want it to be authentic. I want it to be long lasting. So I want that sort of like, I'm looking in the mirror and I don't want to just like glance over the eye booger. I want to get it out. I want to clean my face. I want to be right for the day,
Right. And so yeah, you definitely want to be well developed in your physical appearance as you go out and present yourself to the world. So definitely it's a necessary step in that development process. I want to now kind of touch on what are some of the barriers to becoming more self-aware. What are the things that keep us from that growth and development? And so one of the things that I'll touch on briefly is the fact that a lot of the times it's stubbornness. It's just being stubborn and thinking that you know everything and no one can teach you anything new and you got it all together. So there's nothing more for you to learn. And that stubbornness really prevents a lot of people from self-reflection and becoming aware of issues or things that are negatively affecting us. And so acknowledging those barriers is the first step to becoming more aware. And stubbornness is just one of those ways.
Right. I agree. I guess along with that, it being stubborn, but it's also not being open to learn from other people. I think that's a huge part of stubbornness, but also just a huge part in stunting our growth is that we feel that we can only learn from certain people. And God forbid we run out of people to learn from, then we just kind of put ourselves in the driver's seat and we really do stunt our development. So I think you ought to be able to learn from anyone. I think you ought to be able to learn from the homeless person on the street, to the janitor at the school, to a teacher, to the highest bishop, to a friend, a mom, a dad. I think you should be always open to knowledge and self-reflection. So that willingness to be open can also, serve as a barrier for some people.
I agree, because you have to be humble and not proud enough to think that you can only learn from certain people, and realize and becoming aware that knowledge can come from anywhere. It can come from anything. As long as your eyes are open to receive, you will begin to pick up on things that you never recognized before, which is essentially what awareness is. And another barrier to becoming more aware is the coping mechanism of avoidance. And so a lot of the time we will remain in ignorance sort of on purpose, just to avoid having to correct or change a thing or deal with that uncomfortable feeling that says I don't have it all together and that I'm not doing my very best, or I'm not getting the very best out of life. And so leaning on the coping mechanism of just out of sight, out of mind, I'm going to shut my ears and close my eyes to things so that I don't have to see. That is a huge barrier to growing in awareness.
And that also leads, on the mental health level, that leads to depression and anxiety. This whole just purposely closing my eyes and my ears to things because I don't want to change. I don't want to have to leave this person. I don't want to have to leave this job. I don't want to be uncomfortable. So I'm going to avoid it. That
right.
Really,
and we did a whole episode on getting uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it all seems to lead back to there,
Right. So go back and listen to episode number 4 if you haven't, on getting uncomfortable.
Yeah, that was a good one.
And get more about that. And finally, before we get into the practical ways, another barrier I've seen in growing in awareness is keeping only yes men or women around you. So not having people in your circle or your life who can kind of check you or confront you or hold the mirror up to you, it is a barrier to becoming self-aware, because if you only have people in your life, in your circle, who are going to tell you you're doing great and you're doing the right thing and yes, that is a hindrance to you growing, because you need people around you and you need to be able to receive from others who may have a better look from the outside into you and can tell you, hey, did you know, I'm seeing this. I'm seeing this stuff on your face, right? You really want to have people who will tell you have something on your face instead of letting you walk around looking crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about, it's been, from my standpoint, it's been such a blessing even just being friends with you, because I have had times where you've been able to tell me, nah, this ain't the first time, or being able to just be real with me to help me to think about things and to look internally. I really do feel like that's a big deal, is to surround yourself with people that are gonna love you to life, people that are gonna serve as a mirror, but not just as a mirror, but also just to tell you the truth and to help you to go in that right direction.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely do a episode on picking the right relationships, which will include friendships as well. Because that is important. Who's in your circle, who's around you, is going to be a direct reflection of your trajectory on where you're trying to go. So let's get into some practical ways to get better at becoming more aware. Let's touch on a few things.
So I think for me, I would say a huge thing is when you feel that feeling of being uncomfortable, is to embrace it. That's a practical way for me to say, hey, when I'm feeling uncomfortable, how do I embrace this feeling and really check myself internally to see what's going on and how can I do better? So sometimes that may look like journaling when I'm feeling uncomfortable, or whatever. I might want to journal to see what's going on internally.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Journaling could be helpful because you get an opportunity to listen and reflect, which brings me to the point of taking that time for self-reflection. So that's a practical way. And you can do that daily. If you don't have time to do it daily, do it at least weekly and reflect on your life, the people in your life, the things you've been doing, the things that you haven't been doing that you want to do. Take some time and designate some set aside time for self-reflection. That's the first step one of the first steps in getting better at becoming aware.
So I like some of the things that you said earlier when we were talking about this before we started. So I'm gonna let you continue with it.
So one of the things that I was talking about is another way that you can become aware is to take some time to write down some goals and then periodically check back and see what your progress is, because that's a way that you'll have a tangible method of seeing if you are making those changes and that growth in your life to get you where you want to be. So if you're going to be doing a daily reflection, you want to have something to refer back to so that you can track your progress. A big thing, I think, will be a step in becoming more self-aware. And I remember you were talking about this, Phaedra.
Yeah, I remember
was taking responsibility for your own self and not blaming other people.
Man, it's so easy to point the finger. It's just easier.
Definitely. But you are not growing in awareness if you only blame other people for everything in your life. So taking some time to take responsibility and put the blame on yourself. If you have something on your face, it's not somebody else's fault. It's your fault because maybe you are a messy eater and you need to slow down when you're eating. Or maybe you just need to slow down when you're getting ready in the morning and look in the mirror before you walk out the door. And of course, I'm just using that example, but in life, there's a lot of things that we can really hinder our growth by deflecting blame to someone else.
I'll give you a real practical example of when I was wanting to change jobs. And I think I've used this example before, but I realized in my personal development, I realized that I try to find the bad stuff. Like I want to give myself a reason to change jobs other than the fact that it's just, I'm ready to leave. Or maybe I'm ready to grow in a different direction. So I found myself getting super negative about it. And when I sat back and I just was like, I took the responsibility for wanting to leave and I didn't allow guilt or shame to dictate anything. I was able to just make a responsible decision and to be a grown up and say, you know, I think it's time for me to make a change. And there is no harm, no foul. So
exactly.
Even in that, I think that's a huge thing.
Yes. And that is going to get you very far in life when you're able to take that responsibility for your own actions. Because when you do that, you're giving yourself also the responsibility for it to get better and to change. So when you put the blame on someone else, that means you're giving your power away to that other person for the situation to change, when really the power lies within.
Right.
So that brings me to the final practical way that you can get better at self-awareness. And that is a very short and simple word. And that is simply, you can read. Okay. Reading is fundamental, right? Reading rainbow, knowledge is power. And a lot of the times you can gain knowledge outside of just reading a book. But there is so much information to be had and to be found just through reading, whether it's a book, an article, a blog post, a Facebook post, some literature that can actually help you increase in your knowledge and awareness. And in this day and age, we have absolutely no excuse not to seek information. If we are ignorant on something, it only takes a second. It's at your fingertips all day long. Information is everywhere. It's just seeking out the right information. And practically, it's being intentional about making time to increase your knowledge through reading. I've learned so many things just through books. And if you're not a fan of reading, which a lot of people aren't, you have audio books, you have podcasts such as this one, I Get Better Podcast, quick plug. You have YouTube videos, you have TED Talks, you have so many options that are available to you to be able to increase your awareness and your knowledge. And it's so powerful when you're able to gain that for yourself. And you don't know what you don't know. Right. So it's up to you to go out and seek that. And when we get interested in something, it's easy to get lost in the rabbit hole, right? So if I find something that I was ignorant about and I find it really, really interesting, now I'm going to go seek out so many other resources to support that information. And I'll just start looking. I'm like, wow, I never knew this. There's so many topics that we'll get into that I'll share that I've gained so much knowledge in just over the last couple of years, simply by taking the time to open up a book or listen to someone else talking about a book and then go and find that book or that author and find out, wow, that sounds really interesting. Let me go seek out more information about that. So that's just some practical ways to increase your awareness. We're going to be bringing this topic back as it relates to various topics, because there are a few areas that it's very important that we get more awareness in. And a few of those are our physical health, our mental health, our financial health, and any other issues in the community whether it's our own family unit or the outer community that we live in, that have some effect or impact on us. So we're definitely going to keep talking about ways to get better at becoming more aware, and also raising some awareness for some of those issues that we, as people in the community and as therapists, are seeing and experiencing.
Right. Well, guys, we thank you for tuning in today. So that's our time. Please remember to rate, share, comment, and subscribe. You can also send questions and topics that you want to talk about or hear us talk about, or you have questions about. And so until next time, let's keep getting better so we can do better in order to be better.